Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Morristown. There's a lot of excitement in the air. Let's take a breath and arrive. I'm so excited to be here and to see your beautiful faces and to come together and to remember who and what we are. So today we dive deeper into the theme for the month, which is root and reboot. Some of you have this lovely journal that I'm already starting to fill with stuff. We have a journal for the year. The topics every week are not going to be the same because I like my own creativity, but it's a wonderful journal to use and follow with the theme of living out loud. And for January, root and reboot, and we're selling, we have a few left. So we're selling the journals so that you can follow along and take notes and get inspired. There's lots of wonderful, inspiring things in here. So I'd say snap one up so you don't have to order it online. And we have the beautiful Susan Niedt with us. She's going to facilitate a wonderful spiritual practice, which she does so beautifully after my talk. And we have Grayson. Yay! So Grayson will do some music for us in a little bit, and we're going to explore this idea of Chapter 2 in the Science of Mind textbook, which is the way it works. Most of you know by now, and those of you that don't, I'm so excited because sometimes I wish I didn't know, is that the first 4 chapters in the Science of Mind textbook are the basics. If that's all you study, those 4 chapters, then you will come to understand not only what the teaching is about, but how you get to embrace it and how you get to live it. So we're exploring that, and next week we have Reverend Michelle coming to speak. And she's going to do a workshop on her brand new book called Forgiveness. She's going to bring the books. I have the book. It's very powerful work. If you are interested in coming, please register on Breeze so that she knows how to prepare and what to bring for the workshop and how many books to bring. Although you can sign up at the last minute because we're going to be here in person. So the thing I'm exploring today is this idea of the way it works, which it is spirit, the universal presence, the divine intelligence. How does it work? Well, it works by means of creation, which means each and every one of us, because we're part of that creation. And how when we have a limiting idea about that, whether it's conscious or not, how it shows up in our lives, in our bodies, in our world. So we're going to explore that a little bit more. If you are live streaming, whether it's today or anytime in the future, we're glad you're here. And we invite you to give us feedback, to make comments, to say hello to each other. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, just maybe wave. We'll get it somehow. If you're on YouTube, enjoy this live stream recording anytime you want to, and we are always interested in improving our live stream, which you're very aware of. It could use some improvement. So if anybody wants to volunteer for that or has some ideas, we're working on it on our end, but hey, maybe there's somebody out here that says, I can do that. These cards we call long cards, and they're very cool because they tell a lot about our spiritual community. Frannie had the wonderful idea that each of you take some with you. And that whenever you are at a library, especially, leave a few. Or if you're at a grocery store, stick it on the bulletin board. or anywhere you think people might be who are really hungry for spiritual community or the teaching that we offer. So they're on the back table, so we have more. Take them with you. I want to, before we say hello to one another and we do the opening treatment, I want to share with you the vision, mission, and the values that we co-created with the Leadership Council through visioning. And we're going to be posting that everywhere as well. It's over there so you can take that printed copy. So the vision of Center for Spiritual Living Morristown is transforming lives through the science of mind teaching, philosophy, faith, and way of life. And the mission is providing spiritual inspiration to individuals that lift each one to transform their lives in ways that create a world that works for everyone. And our values are vibrant community, deep spiritual practice, integrity, gratitude, unity, timeless wisdom, uncompromising compassion, conscious awareness, and spiritual transformation. That's who we are. Wow, right? Wow. All right, so put your hands together as we bless and greet one another with the Sanskrit practice of Namaste, which means the divinity in me sees and blesses the divinity in you. So just greet someone and say Namaste. And let's treat our word for affirmative prayer. So as we close our eyes and we withdraw our attention from the outer world and let go of any labels we hold, we arrive at a place of nothingness, which is everythingness. We arrive at this place of suddenly remembering the awe of being spirit incarnate. We realize the oneness of all life simply by our breath, because we could not breathe without the presence of this essential nature, this link to life with a capital L. And so today we open our minds and our hearts wider than ever before to receive spiritual inspiration, spiritual community, and spiritual wisdom. And let it fall on the fertile soil of our own consciousness, which is our use of the universal consciousness. We set the intention to free ourselves of any idea of limitation, whether it's conscious or not, and we realize that this life is the life of opening and receiving the deepest awareness of the oneness of all life. In the universal love that is everywhere present, the divine wisdom that is inherent, and the very truth of life itself as it continues to unfurl by means of our clear intention. And so today, we let go, and we let the way be made clear and free. We let the divine presence move through us, body, mind, and spirit. And we trust this perfect unfurling, and so it is. So it is. So, I want to start by reading from the Science Mind magazine today, because this weekend we celebrate the birthday of Martin Luther King, who was killed 30 years ago and would have been 94, and is more alive in and through us, I think, than ever. The textbook says, "Happy birthday, Dr. King. It's an honor and a pleasure to celebrate your life. Though your life was cut short, your accomplishments and words of encouragement to everyone will be quoted well into the next century and beyond. You were a wise and courageous leader, and your many thousands of followers continue to increase each year as young people learn and understand what you believed in, that all people should walk in freedom, that all people are created equal and have the right to live in freedom. And so his message seems to be more needed today than ever. We seem to be more divided than ever. But maybe it's not that we seem to be more divided. Maybe it's that it's more on the surface. It's more visible. It's more obvious. It's less hidden. And sometimes that which is hidden must become visible before it can be healed. If you ever had a festering wound, you know what has to come out before it can heal, right? It's similar to that. And so we get to really think about this idea of inside and outside, effect, cause, within, without. Our teaching is based on the ancient wisdom teachings, the ancient wisdom presence, way, way back since the beginning of time, of as within, so without. We're part of new thought, but we're not new at all. We're probably more ancient than many other traditions, religions, and spiritual teachings, because that's what Ernest Holmes studied. And so he goes back to these very simple phrases, like as within, so without, as above, so below, from Hermes Trismegistus in ancient Egypt. And so the chapter 2, the way it works, and the topic today is the thing itself becomes everything, is really about the idea of having more clarity about how the teaching works in its absoluteness, and how we get to embrace and embody that when we're focused on the division, i.e. the relative, the world of effect, the world of conditions. And so it's about having greater clarity. And last week we talked about how the thing itself is just another name for God. There are hundreds. It's important to pick one that makes your heart sing. If the word God doesn't work for you, don't use it. Make up something that makes your heart burst with love, with joy, with light. And so last week we talked about how this thing itself is the quantum field. It's the divine energy that's everywhere present in everyone, everything, everywhere, all the time. And that's what we're here to live. And is anybody doing it completely? My guess is no, I'm not. Is anyone doing it perfectly? No, because that's the journey. That's the journey. And my meditation teacher says the journey is from to God, where we awaken, like, oh, there's got to be something more. Let me go figure that out. Then in God, which is our own development and consciousness. And then as God, which is where we realize, chapter 2, which says the universe itself is having its experience by means of creation. All of creation. Not just some of it where we pick and choose. I can say God is all there is except my thighs. No. God is all there is except John Doe. Add any name you wish. God is all there is except when there's a fire or a flood. And that's big thinking. That requires a lot of our consciousness, because we cannot point fingers. We cannot really have those opinions that says here but not there, this but not that, this person but not that person. Well, yes, we can, because that becomes our field of growth, our field of evolution, our field of awakening and growing into this idea that it's all that. And so that's why we say God, Spirit, truth, the infinite present is omnipresent, everywhere present, omniscient, all-knowing, omni-loving, all-loving, omnipotent, all-powerful. And that's our home base. So no matter how far we stray, that's where we come back to. That's why I sometimes meet people that say, you know, I used to come to the center 50 years ago and I'm back. Or I lost myself on the spiritual path, but now I am realizing that there has to be something more about me or about my life. Most of us know somebody like that, right? And so the idea then is for us to discover that humanness in ourselves, in each other, in life, in our experiences, in our conditions, and in what appears to be the divided world. And that's beauty. The beauty is that you and I are completely free in that. No one is forcing us. No one is telling us what to do, how to do it, when to do it. That's what I love about the Science of Mind teaching. The religion I was raised in, there was no freedom. This is what you did, and this is the way it was, and you didn't question it. Which is like, you know, you're telling me, I'll go do the opposite, right? And so then it's all about, oh, if I'm already free and what I experience in my life is based upon my consciousness, then I can choose to develop this consciousness of mine. And so we explore how we can develop that, knowing that the universal is the individual, that the divine is the human. It's no longer either or. It's not even this and that. It's this as that. The divine as the human. The universal as the individual. You and I as spirit, as God, as life, as truth. And so we explore that journey and we keep coming back to that. I loved how John said last week, John Heron was the practitioner of the week, is that God's Spirit is having an experience by means of you. You think God is having fun by means of you? Or is he just like, oh God, I'm so bored. I'm so annoyed. All they do is complain and whine and feel like a victim. I'm going somewhere else. That cannot really be, because they cannot go anywhere else, because it's everywhere present. But I sometimes hear spirit within me say, really? And roll its eyes at me when I'm complaining, whether it's subtle or not. And so the idea is then, how can each of us, evolving consciousness, knowing and remembering that that's why we're here, that's why we incarnated, that's why we decided to become spirit individualized, the divine humanized, the universal becoming form. And so we stay connected to that. So does that mean that when we look at the world that it's more divided or less divided? Well, what does it depend on? It doesn't depend on the news. You already know when you watch different channels, you hear different news. Or when you're in different countries, you hear different news, right? So it's not about whether this is more or less divided. It's whether this is more or less divided. It's whether my consciousness is more or less divided. Because the answer is not out there, but in here. And so we explore our consciousness knowing that the outer is the inner and the inner is the outer, which means that the outer is just a mirror. It is showing us what it is that we're thinking, what it is that we believe. And the simplicity of it is, if I love it and it makes me feel happy and it makes me feel good and I'm in service to the world, I'm aligned. But if I'm struggling and I'm suffering and my heart aches, it means that I'm divided and I get to do some inner work so it can become integrated, and based on the truth principles. What that means is that all suffering is a gift. Think about that one. What that means is all your and my suffering is a gift, because it's showing me where I'm divided. It's showing me where I don't believe that this presence is in me and in everybody else. It is in all of life, everywhere present, all the time, as the all-knowing presence of life itself, as the universal breath. And that is freaking demanding, and sometimes incredibly frustrating, and can sometimes take a long time to go, I got it. Because we have a tendency when we're suffering to focus on the suffering. Ernest Holmes says the human tendency is towards the negative. This human experience, we tend to look at what's wrong and what isn't working. We might look at those thighs that we don't like instead of look at the beautiful smile you have, or the beautiful expression on your face when you witness beauty, or the love you feel in your heart for the people that you love, or the pets that you love, right? And so is that demanding? Yes, it's demanding, but the rewards, oh my goodness gracious, the rewards are amazing, because they bring us greater health, greater creativity, greater abundance, greater joy, greater relationships, greater peace, greater harmony, da, 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 right? And so what we realize then is that we must look longer and deeper when we're experiencing pain and heartache and suffering, because we're just seeing the surface. And on the surface, it is divided. It looks divided. But it is, and it looks divided because you and I get to look more deeply until we get to that place of the oneness of all life. And how does that show up? And how do we bless that? And how do we experience gratitude for that? So the idea is that we're here to become more aware of the oneness of all life, and therefore to heal the sense of separation, the sense of division, that which causes us suffering. And we embrace it because it's telling us it's time to grow. It's time to grow. It's time to have a bigger idea. It's time to bring the absolute wisdom of this teaching that is so ancient since the beginning of time, to bring it to life in this particular area. Because that's the foundation. We say this universal intelligence works for us by working through us. We're the way. We're the instrument. And it shows us, life shows us where we don't believe that. If anybody asks you, is this teaching Christian? First of all, be aware of who you're speaking to. And then you might say, well, yeah, it is, because what we teach is the simple message of the master teacher Jesus, who said, it is done unto you as you believe. It is done unto me as I believe, not you. It's done unto me as I believe. It's done unto you as you believe. So if we're not aware of that, and we don't live that all the time, we just have to look at what's going on in our lives and in our bodies. It will tell us. You're struggling with money? You don't believe in abundance. You don't believe that spirit in you is your abundance. You struggle with health? Something that you don't believe. You're misaligned. There's a disconnect. because the presence and the power of divine love is your health. Divine health as your health, as my health. And on and on and on. We all have examples, right? And so when we're suffering, first of all, you have to notice it. I know a lot of people don't notice when they're suffering. That's why they drink and do drugs and go shopping and think they need another dress, right? Or they use alcohol or whatever it is. Running around, being busy is the new addiction, right? Oh, I'm so busy. So we want to pause and sit and just be and just feel and just notice and just look at what we're thinking. Journaling helps for me with that. So what do I believe? What do I believe about my health? What do I believe about my relationships? What do I believe about love? What do I believe about abundance? What do I believe about creativity and work? All those things get to be made clear. And then what's misaligned can be aligned. It's like a spiritual chiropractor session. And I love that sound when you adjust your body. I can feel it like, oh my gosh, it's back in alignment. It's like that. It's like having a little back crack for your spirit, for your heart. And so that's why we don't fear our challenges. That's why we celebrate them, because we're like, oh, I'm out of alignment. Let me come back to alignment. So what are some of the things that we do? I have 3 C's. Could probably make 4, but let's go with 3. So we ask ourselves when we're misaligned, what is it that I need? What is it that I need? Something in you already knows. You might be saying, I have no idea. Great place to start. Listen more deeply. What do I need? What would I love? So then we claim the truth as the source of our well-being. So if you're lonely and miserable and unhappy in your relationships and you don't feel you're loved the right way or loved enough, you go back to the source, which is love is all there is. Love is all there is. If love is all there is, how come I believe there isn't enough of it? Let me go back to the source and claim the truth about love. And then we cultivate that love. Cultivate it, cultivate it, cultivate it until you're like, you're like honey for the bees. People are just flocking to you because you have so much love and it's overflowing and it's healing the people around you and they feel so loved in your presence. Right? So we cultivate that love, and the more we cultivate it, the more we generate, and the more we generate, the more we give, and the more we give, the more we receive, and it's just a love fest all around. And then we clear what's in the way. There's an infinite well of love and wisdom and creativity and joy and abundance right where we are. It's within us. How come we go to the poison outside of us instead? We go to the place that's not the source of good. The source of good is the divine presence within. And when we go there and we practice receiving that, because I know sometimes it's not easy to receive that much love, that much wisdom, that much grace, right? That's another awareness, another belief that many people hold. I think when I do counseling with people, what I hear the most, or where we arrive at the most, is that people don't feel worthy. And they don't even realize it. But that's why they experience so much lack. And so we go to claim from the source, we cultivate that, cultivate that, cultivate that, and then we clear what's in the way, because you're going to bump into things like crazy. If you claim infinite love as the love that's in your body, your mind, your heart, your soul, you're going to bump into the opposite. It's kind of like your spirit saying, oh yeah, you're going to claim more love? Let's see if you really are doing this. You really get this. So sometimes the people you don't love get so annoying. It's like a little test, right? We clear that, and there's so many ways to clear it. Call a practitioner. Take a class. Read a book. You don't know what to read? Ask me, I'll tell you. There's so many different ways. And so that brings us back over and over and over again to our birthright, which is pure love, pure grace, pure freedom, pure joy, pure holiness, wholeness. And back into that embracing of our essential nature, which is infinite, there's always more of it to embrace, is what sets us free. Allows us to experience a greater sense of freedom. And then we come to know the universal consciousness more as our own consciousness. Our own consciousness as our use for the universal consciousness. And then we begin to discover more about the oneness of all life, and we have room to express it. And then in the exploration, we notice more quickly that we are in a belief in separation. And so you and I know, or you wouldn't be hearing this message, that the way we heal the divide that we witness in our world is one person at a time. And that's not somebody else, a politician, this country or anywhere else. That starts within, with the commitment that I am here to heal the divide within me. And when I do, it must show up in my world. Hence our vision, a world that works for everyone. And we remember, very gently and very lovingly, not to waste our time, our energy, our consciousness, our gifts and talents, our own mind and our own heart. So now we get to experience our beloved Susan, because I've been talking a lot of words, a lot of language, right? And she's going to give us an experience so it can all be more grounded and settled within us, and so it can be more of an experience. So, Susan.
Good morning. Good morning. I don't know about you, but I received many gifts over the holidays. Challenges that are gifts, right, Frankie? And you know, the practices are so important because they bring us back to our truth. So today, we're going to do that. Before we do that, we remember, as Reverend Frankie so lovingly reminded us, that Spirit works in, as, and through us. And as we're all sitting here together, Spirit is working in, as, and through us all as one. So we're going to sit in that realization of oneness today. So, I just realized that I have to back up.
Can you play a little bit in the background? I forgot to tell you.
Thank you. But before we start the process, I invite you to think about a good that you are seeking currently. Maybe it's a good that you're treating for. Thank you, Grace. Maybe it's a simple good, like to be the perfect weight for my body that will help me serve God the best. Or more abundance, or something more specific like I'm a few $100s more a month. Or joints that are free and move with zest and vitality. So just see what comes up for you, some good that you are seeking, so that we can hold that space during this meditation and make sure that that good is, as you would speak it, in the affirmative. So not something like I don't want to be sick, but something like I am loving my wellness. Whatever is a good that you are seeking. Just be clear about that. And now close your eyes. And take a few beautiful breaths. Knowing that each breath is God's breath. God chose to express itself as you. God is omnipresent. So God is that breath. And be conscious of that feeling full of breath. And let it go throughout your body. And is there a place in your body that feels tense, perhaps? Then let God's love through the breath into that space and release the tension so that you are in the most wonderful space to receive your good. Knowing that God is your good. Knowing that God's presence is everywhere, so that good is already present within you and around you for you to accept as you believe. So we'll do this process of believing. So you have this breath of life, this breath of peace, of power going through your body. Now bring to mind the good that you seek, that you chose before this process. Bring it to mind as it's already done. What does it feel like, this good that you are receiving? Because it's already here. Because God is omnipresent and God is all good. What does it look like in your world? Is prosperity in your hand to use for good, for your good and the good of your community and mankind? Is it walking through the room and up the stairs with freedom of body? What does it look like? Whatever is the good that you have sought, but know it is now here for you. We are in the world of the absolute first cause. Everything is done, everything is possible, it is infinity expressed. So to yourself a few times, say that good that you are seeking as if it's already here, because it is. Know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. Repeat it a few times as if it already is. And then enjoy the expansion of it into the reality that is you. And see it and feel it. And bring your hands to your heart. And express the gratitude, knowing it is here for you because the love of God is in action. The creative power for good is in action. It is always in action, in, as, and through you. And you recognize this truth. You unify with this truth. And you realize it is already done. Breathe in that gratitude, that wonderful feeling of knowing your truth. Yummy. And now staying in this place of gratitude with your eyes closed and feeling that breath around and surrounding you, I'm going to read some words by Ernest Holmes, and I'm going to invite you out loud in your quiet, loving voice to repeat each line after me, knowing the truth of the words that I speak and then that you speak. My word is one with the all good. Everybody. My word is one with the all good. The all good is God. The all good is God. My word cannot fail. My word cannot fail. My word cannot fail to accomplish the desired end. My word cannot fail to accomplish the desired end. I speak the word. I speak the word. And trust the law to fulfill it. And trust the law to fulfill it. I speak the word in full confidence.
I speak the word in full confidence.
I feel the truth of my being.
I feel the truth of my being.
I know the truth of my being.
I know the truth of my being.
God and I are one.
God and I are one.
And just sit with that wonderful feeling of assurance, blessed assurance by the love divine, the spark divine within you. Knowing the truth and knowing that the truth has set you free. And knowing that whatever it is, the good that you seek, the good that you honored today, the intention is there, knowing that it is done. And as you sit there in that quiet, I invite you during the week, whenever this idea comes up, to remember this feeling of oneness with God and knowing the truth of your being. So start breathing more normal, more fully. Move your fingers and hands if you must. Bring yourself back into this wonderful, loving space. And when you are ready, open your eyes. And as we sit today in oneness with each other, we are all practitioners. We all hold that space of truth for ourselves, each other, and the world. So thank you.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you. That was powerful, and I had to focus on playing, but even just being in the presence of everyone that was participating was very moving. Very moving. So this one's an original that I just finished up this week. I think it's both pages. And so you'll be the first people to hear it. And yeah, at the beginning I started writing when I was in a pretty low point, and I do that with a lot of songs where I start it kind of dreary and then it picks up. So I promise it won't be sad the whole time. At this point I don't really know what's ahead for me. Lost my way among my thoughts. The path ahead is dark and dreary, but the sky is blue, just like green. Am I trapped or am I free? Have I gone out inside my head is where I'm left to be. I found my way despite it all. I'm only getting started. It's about damn time that I stand tall. Gotta stand up and believe in yourself, that there's a plan out there I am high on the gift of breath. I'm rising above with the gift of love. And I'm not trapped if I believe I'm free. It's all so simple, whatever you think will be. All the love there is right here within me. All the love there is right there within you. It's together within us. Gotta stand up and believe in yourself. Now there's a plan out there for each of us. Yeah. Gotta shout out to the trees in the sun. Oh, thank you for giving me love. Thank you for giving me love. And thank you for reaching from above. Feeling the beauty, I'm breathing the breath. Thinking about life and death. Remembering we are all loved, and the sun will always shine from above. Remembering we are all one, and that the song is never done.
Those are my favorite songs, you know, that start out like completely depressing on the beat and then rising up. That's my favorite music. I love that. Thank you so much, Grayson. So talented. I love that. We have a few musicians in our midst, so we always love that when we have live music here. So thank you so much. So I invite everybody to just think for a moment the gift that you receive from being here, just being part of this community. And that because you're part of this community and you are the gift, we are here. We get to rent this space and we get to offer music and classes and workshops and all kinds of things. So your presence means everything. And from that, we invite you to continue to support this community with your financial contributions, with your volunteering, because that allows us to stay here longer, right? The more you support this community, the more we can do and the longer we can stay here. And so that's not just for us, because my vision is that, maybe not in this place, but my vision is a future where there are people after I'm gone, part of this community, and their children and their grandchildren. And so we get to support this community, not just for us, but for our future. So there's many ways to give. Many of you give online, many of you do automatic giving. Some of you text, my personal favorite. Some of you leave checks and cash. So we welcome all of that. And we're very, very grateful for your generosity. Next week, as I mentioned earlier, we have Reverend Michelle. So please sign up on Breeze. If you are getting our emails, there's a very easy link to sign up for that class. And if not, and you want to be on our list, let us know. There's a sign-up sheet there, and all different flyers are over here. We're selling the journals over here. And then on February 19th, I'm teaching an in-person art journal workshop. And once you sign up on Breeze, you get more information on what to bring and what you don't have to bring and all that stuff, okay? And last but not least, let's close with a healing treatment, which, I mean, that has to be Susan. Susan, thank you for being here and your beautiful practice, your presence.
Thank you for having me.
And close us out with... Love you, honey. Let's close with a healing treatment.
So let's find our space again. Let's close those eyes and breathe in as we all sit in unity together in that consciousness of oneness. I speak these words for each one here. And each one here virtually, knowing that there is only one. We recognize the one power for good, the one life, the one light in the world. And we are unified with that power, that light, that truth. And that truth carries each one here into their beingness, into the day, into the week, into the year, into the eternity of allness. And that truth is a blessing. So everyone recognizes the truth, receives the gifts that are ever present, knowing that the good that they seek is already here. Knowing that the words that they heard today are directing and guiding them in all areas and all aspects of life. And knowing that that in, as, and throughness is that light of the Christ consciousness within. It is that divine spark of love, that ever-present love, guiding, showing the way. The path is made clear to that loving place of the Most High. And each one sits in that place and permits the flow of pure spirit to radiate in their environment, blessing everyone that they meet. Because each one here is a vehicle for good, a vehicle for God, to express its truth in, as, and through. And we all say together, and